Hello, and welcome back to Amateur Philosophers Play Games. I'm Noah, your host.
I'm Justin, the gamer.
And this is the show where we play video games and discuss philosophical ideas, problems, and philosophize about random topics. So, Justin, today I had a topic in mind, and I still do have a topic in mind. I don't know why I phrased it as a past tense. What the topic I wanted to talk about today is something I think comes up fairly often in philosophy. That is nature versus nurture. Now, for those of you in the audience who aren't maybe as familiar with the concept, it's a question that pertains to your identity, like things of... This actually ties back to a little bit with our episode on taste, but where does your tastes, your preferences, your habits, what you're good at, what you're bad at, just various parts of your identity, where do all those come from? Nature would be the idea that it is inborn, something that's part of you, locked into your, I don't want to say genetics, but it's built, hardwired into your brain or into your mind pretty much from birth. And nurture would say no, it's about your surroundings. It's about your upbringing, the people around you, your experiences as a small child, and later on that grow up, that shape you and develop these different parts. So I think we can start out, just to give a clear example. I'll say one thing that is pretty clearly all one, and then a different thing that is very clearly all another, and then we can get into some of the more ambiguous cases. So, to start out, something that is almost entirely your nature, that has very little to do with your nurture. Let's say, you're on fire. That's definitely not nature. That is not by nature. But one thing that is entirely due to nature, I'd say, is eye color. You know, that's... I'm not a biologist or anything, but I'm fairly certain your eye color is more or less locked in at birth. Like, it's not really affected by your surroundings or what have you. I suppose if you had... Right. Maybe there could be some sort of unusual accident that could change your eye color, but by and large, that's pretty much all nature. And then the opposite end, nurture. You might think it's a little harder to come up with examples, but I think language, what language you speak, is very much a product of your nurture. Because, to my knowledge, if you took any human baby from any time period or any place and put them in any time period or place B, that baby would learn to speak language B, the language of B. So that dialect, those idioms, whatever. What language you speak is pretty much entirely based on, at least growing up, is pretty much entirely based on your surroundings and what you learn. It's not, I think how you speak, your nomenclature, is that the right use of that word? I don't know. Your grammar.
That's a big word.
It is. And you know what we say about big words? They're big.
Yeah.
That was a joke, all right? I'm sorry. Yes. The point is, what language you speak is not based at all, almost entirely at all, on the circumstances of your birth. It's not locked in from birth. Okay, so now we've set that baseline. I think that hopefully, if you're in the audience, that should give you an idea of what the idea we're trying to go for. But then we can start to get to some more, I don't know, ambiguous or hard to understand cases. So like, while Justin's busy fighting and hopefully not dying, I'll start for myself. When I was in school, I'm not in school anymore, in case you're wondering. When I was in school, I was always very good at math. Like, I'm good at it. It comes naturally. I enjoy doing math. I was.
That's the weird part. He enjoys the math.
It's all so perfect, the way everything fits together. This satisfaction of solving that equation, and you take something that seems so complex, break it down, and give it a simple, perfect answer that no one can dispute. But I digress. Anyway, I've always been...
It's kind of like philosophy.
I think math is usually a lot more definite than philosophy. I think we can count on one hand, with not all the fingers on that hand, the number of times in this show we've come to definite, unquestioned conclusions about anything, really. But
anything.
No. But yeah, that's not important. The point is, I was good at math in school. I think I'm still reasonably good at math, too. I don't think I've lost that, per se. So, where does that come from, though? Am I born with that? If I had been born 3,000 years ago in France or something, I don't know why I picked France, but if I had been born 3,000 years ago as a peasant in France, would I still have that potential and inherent skill at math? Or is it more a product of my place? I think I had a good education. I was raised in a way where I had a good chance to learn and learn to love to learn. I don't know. Let's discuss.
All right, so the first thing I think is that like your ability to do math well, I think you would have. I think that
think
is
so?
something that you would be born with. Whether or not you were exposed to that and that was something that you could do is different. So for instance, you might be totally good at, I don't know, playing the bongos. Like you might have a natural skill at playing the bongos that like you don't know about.
Okay.
Because have you ever tried to play the bongos?
I have not. No.
No. See, so you might have that talent like there, it's just undiscovered.
Okay.
So I think
but
that,
you're
like,
saying
something like being good at
when
math
you
is
say
a part of your brain.
have that talent, you're saying, I guess this comes down to the idea of talent, but you're saying that was from the moment I was born, I had the inherent talent to be good at bongos, and even if I had been raised,
obviously you'd be an amateur at first, but still, like your ability to play the bongos would be better than like say my ability to play the bongos.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think that's the crux of the question we're asking here. Is that true? Because it's very hard to try to come up with an objective measure for that, right? Like, let's say we're to say I started playing the bongos, and even if right now, after a few weeks, I turned out I was good at it, it could be that, yes, I had, from the moment I was born, I had a natural talent for playing the bongos, but it could also mean that, say, I've been raised in a scenario or in a family or with a group of people who are very musically inclined, meaning I developed a strong ear for music, and that unconsciously led me to be better at bongoing. So, again, it's almost, again, it feels like a repeat of our taste discussion, because this is a lot of the same questions.
Yeah, I can see that. Oh no, I'm dead.
Oh, well,
I think I just have to run past this guy because I don't have any weapons and I don't know how to get more. I'm too far in to like have like
no weapons.
Baco, like arms as weapons.
Yeah. You could always just try to, rather than going for a head-on assault, you could just try to sneak up on one, beat one up, steal its weapon, and then run away instead of trying to take them all on. There's other ways of approaching this.
Yeah, I'm gonna see if there's like other weapons out here that I could get. It's not those lizard things. So okay, yes, I see where you could say this is a repeat of like the chase argument, and it kind of is.
Kind of is. It's not exactly the same.
But I think that's like the implications of this are bigger than simply what you like. For instance, if you use examples, being raised in a certain household, people say like you are more inclined to be violent when you get older. Other people would say no, that's just something that you like are.
Right.
You're just a violent person.
That's a pretty significant and important thing we should understand about people.
Yeah. So
okay, like now, grab his weapon and run away. Or yeah, so it's always fun to do that. Pick up their head and toss it, and
I like how he kicks it.
this game
I
has so
just
much heart.
expected him to throw it. Yeah, so there's a very big difference, and it's something that like affects people's lives, and so I think what you are inclined to do based off of what is inherent in you versus being bred in a certain way or being raised in a certain way to have say problematic tendencies.
Right.
I think that so for instance, I think like going back to the bongo scenario, I think I would say, okay, well, you like because you were exposed to bongos, like you learned, okay, I can play the bongos really well.
Right.
Run away. Right? But even if you'd never been given the bongos, your ability to play the bongos well would still be there. Does that make sense?
Right. Yeah.
And obviously you would have gotten better if you would been given the chance to play the bongos. You would have discovered it earlier and like nurtured it, and you would have been really good at playing bongos. But since you've never tried playing the bongos, it might be like math to you. For all you know, if you tried, it would just come together so easy.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely, I think, what a lot of people would say, and that does make a level of sense. Although it starts to lead to some interesting conclusions. Like let's say, for example, I'll use an extreme example to make my point. Is it possible there are people out there who have the natural ability? Okay, here we go. I'll make this even better. go back 2,000 years ago, say during the Roman Empire, were there people during the Roman Empire who had a natural ability to do computer programming? Because computers didn't exist yet, of course. So,
okay.
is that could that natural ability have existed, and just obviously no one discovered it until computers happened? Or you could use the same example: is it possible I have a natural ability for three-dimensional hyperchess, even though three-dimensional hyperchess doesn't exist yet? But if it will be invented at some point in the future.
I think yes. I think you could definitely have that ability, and it's just exactly what you're saying. You just haven't had the chance to do it.
Right. Then we start.
Now, I also think though that like that talents like that can be grown in a person.
Right, of course.
Since there's some historical guy. I'm pretty sure he was like at least considered a philosopher or pretty close. He could speak like 5 languages, including like ancient Hebrew and Latin, and like was a great like theologian or whatever. And could like do advanced math by like age 10.
Right.
And he went insane.
Okay.
So I think like you could definitely make someone have like, for instance, like math, be really good at math. I think you could totally make that happen. I don't think that we were like, it's a good idea to though, but it definitely shows that even if someone like a baby doesn't know anything, you can nurture a lot of things in them.
Right. I think we generally agree on that. Like even in school, let's go back to that example, even for students who don't like math and don't come easily to it, we still expect them to learn and to study. It will be harder for them, and those students who don't having like say math does not come in easily. Let's say they don't have the nature strong math. They still have some ability for it, and we expect them to learn more. In theory, it balances out. If you're naturally really good at math, you might not be as good at music, or if you're naturally really good with people, you might not be as good at I don't know, what's the opposite? What's a talent that is typically opposite of having good social skills?
I don't know. No, I don't have good social skills.
I don't either. We're asking the wrong group here.
Philosophy.
Yes, exactly. Right. But it's always possible, even if you don't have that natural talent, to train yourself and try to gain skill in that. And I think that's where some of the problem in this lies, because how do you know if you make the running team, let's say, in school, or if you see someone who is a good runner, how do you know if they have natural talent for it or if they've just trained really hard? Or both. I mean, certainly there's nothing preventing someone with a nature for a run to also train themselves to run.
Right. What's happening? There's one? There's what?
Hey!
Oh, what? Is that a mer person?
Yeah, fish people.
People love that. So I think that they would depend on exactly like, all right, if you see someone run for the first time, like try and do a mile run, and they do it in, I don't know, what's really fast time to do the mile?
I don't know.
If they do it in 3 minutes, I'll say that. Yeah. If they can run a mile in 3 minutes, I'll say you're pretty fast, and I think that you have a natural talent to run.
Right.
However, if it turns out like, you've been training your entire life, and your parents like made you run like every day and fed you a diet that really built your leg muscles, and then that would be a state of your environment forming you to be good at it.
Right. Oh, you've
I
been.
feel like there's a bigger issue. I feel like there's a bigger talking point here that we could go over.
Yeah.
But I can't think of it right now. But I know that there's like some bigger implication for this.
One rather nasty big implication is getting into the field of eugenics. I mean, if you take this to its extreme and you say, well, let's say intellect is part of natural. We breed animals in order to gain in order to accentuate certain characteristics in the offspring. Can't we do the same for people? If we breed, say, pigs in order to try to breed out bigger, smarter, we don't want smart pigs, but bigger, fatter, meatier pigs, could we do the same?
Pigs?
Could we do the same for humans?
Well, the answer is clearly
Yes.
yes. Like, yes, you could definitely do that. That is a thing you could do.
That is the thing you could do.
That.
Should you do that?
Hey, look, we're back at ethics.
Here we are, back in ethics. Thought we'd have a nice little discussion about nature and nurture. Nope, it's just an ethics talk in disguise. Everything is ethics.
Right. So I think that and I think that the clear answer for that one is no. You should not breed people. People should not be bred. Don't breed people, kids. Okay.
Yeah, we could maybe get into why you shouldn't breed people, but I don't know. That's diverging a little bit from our original topic. And I think you're right. I think there's another big thing we can talk about, because it does raise some, going back to something you said a little while earlier, on the opposite end, let's say more unpleasant scenarios. If you meet someone who has a history of, I don't know, let's say problematic behavior. That's about as neutral sounding as I can make it. Can you blame that person? Can you say, well, can that is it, if this person goes too far and ends up in court, can the lawyer say, well, Your Honor, I'm sorry, if you look back in my client's ancestry, every single one of them has had a history of problematic behavior. It's just nature, nothing he can do about it. You should let him off the hook, or a lighter sentence or something. Is that a valid thing you can say? I don't know. Maybe. Should you?
I think you can make it. I think that has been made. I mean, granted, I'm not a lawyer.
Right. Right. But
like I don't study court cases, but I feel like you can to some extent say, well, no, you can't really blame them, in the sense that, oh, this is going to get into a bigger. All right. This might get into a larger topic, like off topic a little bit. But for this specifically, I think that you could say, okay, we're not blaming you for your problematic behavior, but the behavior itself is still problematic, and so we have to deal with it in some way, which I think is where some people get the idea that you shouldn't punish criminals as much as we should focus on rehabilitating them.
Right.
Like, this is the reason why. It's because, well, a lot of people are just a product of their upbringing, or of some natural issue that's beyond their control. You can't have people just doing problematic things all the time, but that doesn't mean you get to punish them. Blow it up.
You blew yourself up. Very good work. Very good work. Yeah.
See, Link cannot be blamed for blowing himself up, because an outside factor, me, was the one who did it.
Exactly. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the game still says, okay, well, you have to restart. It's not your fault, Link. You just have to do it because, well, that's what the code says, and it's better for the gameplay if there are consequences for your actions.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
All right, I feel like I was somewhere else where I was just going.
I think because it saved you, like it auto saved at this point, and it backtracked you before it saved.
Right, now I want to figure out where I was. That way I can. Because that looked more promising than what I was just doing.
You met a fish person.
Yeah.
Or was that before the save or after? I think this was after the save.
I think I was over there.
Yeah.
I think I'm gonna run back that way.
Right.
So yeah, I think that you could make the case that you shouldn't be blamed for certain things, but that doesn't mean obviously that you are allowed to not deal with your problematic actions. You still have to avoid them somehow.
Right.
And I think as we learn more and more about, is it gonna make me re-listen to? Okay, I'm just gonna
mash the A button or B button or whatever it is.
Okay. So I think the more we learn about our brains and genetics and things, we start to realize that we are more and more a product of just genetics.
Right.
I saw a video where they were talking about a scientific study in which I believe it was some kind of insect was exposed, or no, I think it was mice. They were exposed to the color red, and anytime they were exposed to the color red, they were shocked electrically. Or no, it was a berry. It was some kind of fruit berry. Anytime they were exposed to it, they got shocked.
Right.
And then eventually, the children of for generations afterwards were afraid of this, the smell of those berries, even though they'd never.
Interesting. Very interesting. Yeah. That's thinking back to middle school biology, I think that's an interesting intersection of phenotype and genotype, I want to say.
Wow, look at the big brain on Brad.
But basically the distinction being, if you make a physical change to yourself, will that change be carried down to your descendants? So for in a human example, it would be if, let's say, Justin, I know you're a big macho man. You like pump 500 pounds 5 times a day, every day after.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So, but because of that, obviously, you have big bulging muscles over every part of your body. Will your descendants, your children and your grandchildren, have those muscles because you did it? And I think, by and large, for the human experience, the answer is no.
Right.
Yeah. In fact, actually, this is a little unpleasant, but I think it's interesting. I remember in the science textbook I read, it mentioned we've actually, well, not we, but humanity has actually performed a very similar experiment on a large scale. If you think the Jews historically always, part of their culture and their religion is they were always circumcised, Jewish baby males. And yet, so that was a nationwide change of the phenotype, I think, meaning they changed their physical appearance. And yet, even despite that, their descendants always had to be circumcised again, meaning no, they didn't change anything. That wasn't passed down through the generations. It had to be. It wasn't inherently passed down through the generations. So anyway, that's a little off topic. I always thought that was a neat example of, oh hey, sometimes
I remember the video I saw. It was about just bodybuilders have weak kids.
Yeah, exactly. Bodybuilders don't necessarily have bodybuilder children, but that's an interesting thing. Yeah, this kind of ties back to the original question of, no, bodybuilders don't necessarily have bodybuilder children, but if their children are bodybuilders, could it be, that could be, for an example, because the child was raised in a household that put a heavy emphasis on physical fitness and exercise, or maybe there could be something in, if there's a long line of you and your parents and your parents' parents going back, and you can trace a generation of having a large body type and having being bulky, perhaps there is something there that's physical. So again, I think we can agree, going back to the original point, we can agree that both nature and nurture play a role in shaping your identity. But if you focus on any one aspect, I think it can be hard to isolate. Let me use, that's going back to going back again to my math example. We think maybe I've got something naturally within me that makes me good at math, and I would be good at math even if I weren't an example, but that's kind of hard to prove, especially since, let's see, thinking about my parents and grandparents, I guess I would say, yeah, my father is generally also pretty good with numbers. His parents, I guess his mother as well, like his mother used to be a banker before she retired. So yeah, I guess you could say there's something of an ancestry of being good with numbers, but at the same time, my sisters, I have 2 younger sisters, I don't think either of them would say they're particularly great at math. They can do it, but so it is interesting. I guess that's another question we could, for the things that are nature, game over again is not nature, but
I know.
For the things that are nature, is it purely genetic? Like, as in, say your eye color and certain other parts of you are purely genetic. Your eye color, skin color, I don't know, whatever. Or are there other things that can factor into a nature that are beyond genetics? That's an interesting question.
Okay, yeah, no, wait, now I know what you mean by that.
Right. So
natural but beyond genetics.
Let's say, for example, your eye color. That's usually based on your physical appearance in general. That's usually based entirely on genetics. Like, most of the time, if you look at a child and look at the parents, you can usually see a family resemblance, right? The child looks like one of the parents, or perhaps both of the parents. For example, I tend to look like kind of a mixture between my 2 parents. One of my sisters takes after my dad, the other one takes after my mom. When you see all of us together, you can see we're related, we're a family, you know. That's true for most I gotta sit through this cutscene again. Stop dying, Justin. This is not good. This is not good TV.
I have tried. Can I wait? Once I cross, I can just save, right? And then it'll stop making me die.
Yeah.
Over there. Okay, I'll do that.
That's a great idea. Right. But for example, so a physical appearance is passed down through genetics, but that's what my other question is. Let's say a different thing. Let's say all right, we'll stick with the same. Let's say math skills. Is that also passed down through the generations? Like if you look at my family tree, would you be able to plot out, okay, this is where I get my math skills from person X? Or, because if it's not, if you say, oh, in a family of generally average people, you have one particularly above average mathematician, and then the rest of that person's descendants are also average, that would indicate it's maybe not genetics? Or if it is, it's maybe is mathematics a recessive gene? Questions I never thought I'd be asking, but, you know.
I think, okay, so I'm trying to think about this, and I think...
Again, it's kind of hard to prove, because you can't really perform experiments on this, not easily anyway, because it both ethically and also it would just take a very long time to try to track multiple... It would take a very long time to try to track multiple generations.
Yeah. I think... Well, even if it's a recessive gene, I mean, this is going a bit back to Punnett squares, and it's been a while since I've drawn a Punnett square. But if both people have the recessive gene, doesn't that mean that they're more likely that they pass it on?
Right. If the way a recessive gene works, if both people have it, it's possible for... So, if... I don't remember if it is, but if, say, having blonde hair is a recessive gene, it's possible for two parents with brown hair to both have the recessive blonde gene and a child to have blonde. I'm sure I'm making any biologists in the audience froth at the mouth at how I'm misrepresenting how genetics works, but you get the picture. But yeah. So, but then again, that's what I'm saying. You can generally isolate, I think, parts of your genetics that say, oh, this genetic code says you're more likely to have blonde hair. This genetic code says you're likely to have darker skin. Can we isolate something that says you're likely to be good at math, or you're likely to be good at three-dimensional hyperchess, or can you isolate
I would
that?
say, I think if you did the immoral experiment, you put like people on an island and like bred them for generations.
A few generations. Let's say we'll be good scientists and say like 10 to 15 generations. That's a good amount of time.
Yeah, I think that what you would have to do though is you would have to. I'm trying to how to put this. You would have to match people who were really good at math, and they would have to be the only ones that kept having kids.
Right. And
because like that's the way it works. That would be survival of the fittest, right? It's like the reason that like those traits are passed on is because, well, those are just the only ones who are alive, who survive long enough to have kids, so their genetics get passed on.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
So I think it's totally possible.
That's the thing. It is,
again,
in theory, it's possible, but we can't actually... Do we have, like, historical evidence of that happening where... Because, again, it's also possible that if that's not the way it works, you could breed all these mathematician families, and they still produce children who are no better or worse at mathematics than the average person. So that's what I'm saying. It's hard to run an experiment to actually test this theory, but it as philosophers, we're not necessarily trying to make experiments. It makes sense that it could be that way, but I think it also makes sense it could be the other way, because this is another thing I realized earlier, circling back around. So let's say go back to our Roman emperor. Does the Roman emperor could have a inherent natural ability to be a computer programmer? Well, maybe, but that would never be found out. So does the Roman emperor have an inherent natural talent to be good at the electric guitar? Well, maybe, but couldn't find out. You start to wonder, wait a minute, is it possible any given person has a litany of potential talents that can never be realized because those inventions and those techniques don't exist yet in that time? Is there a cap to how many of them there are, or do they sort of... You see what I mean? So, for example, going to my... talking about three-dimensional hyperchess, am I also naturally proficient with four-dimensional hyperchess or five-dimensional hyperchess? If a new dimension of hyperchess is invented every 100 years for the next several thousand, how many of those natural talents could exist in a person? You see what I mean? You start to wonder, is there a limit? And I think there is an answer. I think it would make more sense to say, oh, well, you tend to have certain things tend to associate themselves well together, like mathematics and I don't actually know, like mathematics and music is kind of a thing, I guess, because music is a lot of math.
Yeah, there's mathematical precision to music. If you know math really well and you look into music theory, you'll probably do music theory really well. I think that's how it is.
Yeah, which is a bit funny because, like I've said, I'm good at math. I haven't studied music theory much, but who knows? So maybe that means I have a natural talent for music theory I just haven't tapped into yet. But that's what I'm saying. If you organize it into categories, I think it makes more sense than saying, the Roman Emperor Nero actually had 72,000 natural abilities that just never appeared because, well, those things weren't invented yet. That seems a little absurd to say, I think.
But is it?
Is it?
I don't see why it would be, though. I mean, it would just be... obviously there's some basis.
I'll word it this way. Is there a maximum number of talents or natural abilities a person can have?
Without being that guy and saying, well, it depends on how you want to define a talent, I think that, no, there's not a limit on how many talents you could have. A talent would simply be doing a niche thing in a very skilled way.
Right.
That's what a talent is.
But then, so then that implies there has to be a niche thing to do to have a talent for it, right?
Right. So, like, I don't know, spitting a cherry seed 30 yards. That's a talent. Maybe I could do it if I tried. I have tried doing that when I was very little. I did not succeed.
Oh, okay.
30 yards is pretty far.
30 yards is quite far,
I'm sure there are people out there who, actually 30 yards maybe not, but like, you could shoot it, they could shoot it really far, and that would be a talent that they have. They could shoot cherry pits really far. It's not a useful talent, per se, but it's still a talent, and I think that, who knows, maybe Nero could have spit a cherry, 30 yards if he had ever tried.
Yeah, maybe.
Ooh. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been reading what this guy's been saying. I think he's saying, like, you have to go kill the thing,
Yeah, I gotta go kill the thing, and I'm now immune to lightning for like 6 minutes.
He gave you a potion that does it. I think he also, maybe it's later on that he says this, but did he say something about you have to get electric arrows? Oh no, just reach. Reach sword domain. Right. Okay. I'm thinking ahead. It's been a while since I played the game. Right. Yeah. So we focused a lot on natural talents, the nature side of this question. I think it would be interesting to focus a little more on the nurture side, because again, we certainly can say, for example, a lot of your personality and your interests are based on your upbringing. That I would say, for example, you've talked about in the past you're a big fan of movies, and the main reason for that is, well, your family, when you grew up, you watched a lot of movies as a family, and you just personally watched a lot of movies, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't think that's. I don't think that. Maybe there might be a little bit, but it seems like there's not a strong natural inclination to love 80s and 90s action movies, for example. I know you've talked about that in the past.
I wish there was.
Yeah. And again, that's what I'm saying, though. It seems like you probably get that through your upbringing and your surrounding experiences, but can you really prove there isn't some natural inclination that some people, if you were to take two people with your upbringing, can you really show that one of them, if one of them likes the action movies more than the other, that would indicate there is something natural inside of you that makes a difference, right?
Maybe. And I think, well, like my sister, she doesn't like 90s movies.
Okay.
Even though we both grew up watching like movies like that. She'll say oh, I've never seen this movie. It's like we watched it like literally every day for like a month straight. You've definitely seen this movie. She's like, no, I haven't. And then she'll be like, I don't like it. So yeah, there's something different about me. But,
right.
Oh no, okay, so no. So here's the real nature versus nurture question.
Right.
is that because it's something in me, or is it because we had different experiences with movies growing up?
Yeah.
So they didn't make an imprint on her as much because, you know, maybe they don't bring her the same amount of comfort that they bring me.
Right.
So therefore she's like, oh, I don't like these.
Yeah, exactly. You had the same, not identical, but you had a similar nurture upbringing. But the question is the difference because of an inherent part of you, or is it because of those slight differences in your own experiences? Or maybe both. It could be both. They're not exclusive. But yeah, I agree. I think that's getting down to the core of the most controversial core of the nurture versus nurture question, because again, it's kind of hard to give evidence one way or the other. It really seems like it could go either way, but yeah. I don't know. Oh boy, the philosopher's favorite phrase. I don't know.
I don't know. Okay, so I might be misremembering here, but if I remember, your family did not like encourage your inclination to watch anime, correct? This is not something that you guys did.
Correct. That's something. Yeah, that's correct.
So that means like one day you just had an inclination saying, you know what sounds fun? 12-year-olds with like superpowers.
Yeah.
Let's watch that.
From Japanese cartoons of 12-year-olds with superpowers. Yeah, I agree. But
I feel like it's something that is a natural thing that came from you, because there is no
I mean, is it?
There's no reason. There's no reason.
That's the thing, though. There is a reason I can trace back. I play in shout out for LV1. I played the Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh trading card games back when I was younger. I played those with a couple of friends, and then I think that kind of leads on into, well, then maybe you like the anime, or maybe you like the shows of those. Oh wow, you like this genre of Japanese cartoons with superpowers? Open it up and see what else is there. So yeah, I agree, but maybe there is something inherent in me that makes me more inclined to like intellectual Japanese cartoons. I don't know, maybe. So yeah.
Okay, so wait, do you think that if your sisters were exposed to Pokemon?
Well, here's the thing. My sisters, I kind of exposed my sisters to Pokemon. They like Pokemon. I've actually been exposing them to anime a little bit. They like certain animes. Like I'm sitting next to my sister's desktop setup right now. Her desktop setup is Kyo and Yuki from the Fruits Basket anime. So yeah, clearly there is that was I mean, it was certainly part of the surroundings, as in I got them into that, but also it could just be there's something in our family or something. I don't really know. Huh.
I had a smart thing to say and I forgot what it was.
Well, yeah, I don't know. Sorry.
So you're saying it could be... Sorry, I'm trying to find a food
that's what I'm saying. That's why I'm saying it can be quite difficult to isolate this sort of thing.
Right.
Huh. Yeah.
Wow.
Well, at the very least, I think we've laid out that's the dilemma, right? And if you point to any one aspect of really anyone's identity, I don't know, playing video, or yeah. I will say there is an interesting. There is one thing I can think of in a similar vein. We're talking about sort of tastes, especially in entertainment. That is interesting. So, Justin, are you familiar with the concept of a chick flick? And for our audience as well, it's the idea of a movie that is typically geared toward women,
right.
as the main demographic. Yeah, The Notebook is a very famous movie of that, but it's a whole genre of movies. They're quite common. Now, I mean, I'm not going to say there are no men out there who enjoy those things. That there certainly are, but by and large, the demographics, women tend to enjoy those things more than men, and it's in reverse too. Football, for example. Why? Not that there's no women out there who enjoy football, but why is American football for you Europeans in the audience. American football.
Yeah, because we're totally on an international level. No.
Okay, well, someday we'll have international fans coming back to watch our backlog. It'll be great. I don't know if that will ever happen, but it would. Hey, if there's any European fans, hello from the past. How's the future looking? Please leave a comment from the future, and we won't react to it right now because we're still stuck in the past. But man, recording things
it's on the list of things to do.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, football. Why is football typically more enjoyed by men than women? Is it something natural in men as a whole that makes it more appealing, or is it more that the societal experience that most boys and men get drives them to like football? Or is it both? I don't know. You see what I'm saying?
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
I could see that because like the idea is, I remember, testosterone is a thing that makes you more masculine, and it's also fuel. Like it's in like what is it? If you do things like play football and stuff, you're more likely to have higher testosterone.
Right.
Or, it helps foster that.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. So, yeah, I think that would be the question of, well, you could approach it from either direction. You could say men naturally have more testosterone and different biology or whatever, and that makes them more open and receptive to enjoying the sport of a bunch of buff men smashing into each other, and occasionally there's a ball that flies through the air. And then you can do, if you want to turn around and do this. Obviously, these are large oversimplifications to,
yes,
make the discussion.
Don't cancel us.
Don't cancel us. Yeah, I mean, if you want to cancel us, fine, whatever. But we're not aiming to be canceled. We're just exaggerating to make a point. And then again, turning the same thing around for chick flick, those types of movies or other things. There's something in women's biology or chemistry or whatever that makes them more. So that's one way you could take it. You could also take it from the perspective of, well, in American culture, men tend to have these experiences as boys and as men, and those experiences that are common to a lot of men are what are more likely to make you interested in buff men smashing into each other and throwing a ball. And then the reverse for women, of course. And I think those are both things, and I think they're not exclusive. It's definitely possible that both are the case.
Okay.
In fact, you could even say the societal reasons are due to the biological reasons, but that's getting a little too deep. I think if you...
Okay. I can't see anything over there, so I want to,
It's foggy.
I know. I want to, paraglide over there, but I'm, worried there's nothing for me to catch onto.
I mean, you can just land on the ground if you... when you paraglide, you can always just land on the ground. If you just jump out straight and then paraglide, you'll eventually either hit a wall or hit the floor. I think.
Yeah. I'm gonna save and then try it.
Sure.
All right. So yeah, I think that's true, and I think that a lot of it comes from necessity. So I think that the society you grow up in dictates partly what you. How am I gonna put that? Actually, no. So the society you grow up in has different needs, and so we will adapt to fit those needs. That's why there's cultural differences and things, because one culture needed this to survive in this particular area, and one did not. So one developed characteristics that the other didn't.
Yeah, you're gonna have trouble climbing that in the rain.
Just a wall.
Also, it's raining. It's gonna be hard to climb.
Oh,
yeah.
I did not realize that was part of the game.
Yep.
I really want to just find this beast thing, but I can't. I have no idea where it is.
Well,
I have it on the
blinking,
map, but I can't see it. I just keep running around.
I think you're on a hill or something. Maybe if you go around the hill, you can walk. Is that the river down there, or?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Maybe you could find something to float on. Oh, no, you're going upstream now. Oh, you're. This is a bit of a pickle.
I'm gonna drown. Yep, I'm gonna drown. Good thing about drowning, it's not like dying. This game.
No, it's not. Just puts you back where you started, and then I think you have one fewer heart or something.
So, oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah, see, you can. So Yeah, like you can probably do this and just sort of paraglide from wall to wall until you get there. Is that a... Hold on, turn around. Wait, look back around behind you. Was that a sword in the rock? Oh, no. It was just a tree.
So yeah, I think that's... Yeah, I think they influence each other. I can definitely agree with that.
Right.
But... And I guess the question is does it matter on an individual basis, though? Because, like, in society, we can see it just through evolution, right? That, like, yes, obviously nature has an impact on you. But, like, individually, what does it mean?
Right. Yeah. This is one of those things that I think it's more... both more interesting and also more complex on the individual level than the societal level. Because... Yeah.
I'm so close.
You are really close. I think it might be like just further down this canyon. Like, I think because right now I believe the quest you're on. You can check your quests, but I think it's find the Zora's domain. It's not necessarily go kill the divine beast. So, how do you check the quests again? Yeah, reach Zora's domain. So, I think it might just be...
Is that a boat?
Is it? I don't see one.
Like, right there.
I mean, you could jump down and find out.
Yeah. Oh, no, it's an animal, it looks like.
Oh, yeah. I don't think the animal... Anyway, I think you have to go, like, up this waterfall. A boat wouldn't really help you with that. Right. We've got a bit distracted with the game, but yeah, where were we? Talking about society and nature. So yeah, we've
an individual basis.
Right,
so, like,
individual.
What does it mean for an individual?
Yeah. And once we know what it means for an individual, what are the implications? I think realistically, it's kind of. I don't really know if we can say too much about the conclusion. Like, I think in this episode we've so far sort of raised the question pretty well, but that's the point. It's an open question in philosophy. In individual things you can maybe make advancements, but short of a large scale long-term societal experiment, which again probably not a good thing to do, that human experimentation through and on breeding is not ethical, just making that clear. But short of that, yes, I don't think we're really going to be able to solve this very easily.
No.
Certainly not in the little time we have remaining today. So, yeah, I think... Yeah, is there any more we need to talk about while you go search for the Zora's domain?
I don't think so. I think this is a good place to stop.
Yeah, right here on this random cliff face.
Yep.
All right, well, once again, another episode where we didn't really come to any conclusions. I feel like this happens a lot. I wonder if this says something about the nature of philosophy. Nah, couldn't be. Yeah.
Well, I think the thing to remember is that, like, we aren't here to, like, necessarily educate about, like, a topic. Like, we're going to talk about what, I don't know, compatibilism is. Of course we would come to conclusions.
Right.
But, like, this isn't so much as this is a bunch of definitions and, like, what they mean in philosophy. This is more about having the discussion, and in philosophy, right, we don't really have answers.
Yeah, exactly. We're not an educational show. We're more entertainment, and hopefully it's entertaining to listen to two guys talk about this stuff. But yeah, if we are trying to inform you, it's more trying to inform you of how you can start thinking about these things, dear viewers. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you.
That's why it's amateur philosophers.
Yeah, amateur philosophers. Once we become professional philosophers, we will know everything, and it'll be good. Or something. I don't know. We're not there yet. But I think that wraps it up for today. So, if you want to know whether it is in your nature or nurture to be nice, press that like button and find out maybe were you naturally inclined to push that like button, or have the outside influences, i.e. us, influenced you in order to press it. And leave a comment to find out and discuss your experiences on whether that I'm sorry, I can't keep leave a like, leave a comment if you could. Always super helpful for the algorithm at this early stage of our channel. Just helps spread the word. hit that bell if you really like us and you want to be notified whenever we put out more videos, usually once a week, maybe, unless we have something we want to do or we can't record. But yeah, with all out of the way, thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.